Alright, so this is just going to be a video on the Tactical Tanto project. Basically how it got started was I just was cutting out the part here for the saya, or the sheath for our katana project, and I realized that we're left with this almost looks like a sword blank, which if you did a good enough cutting job in between here, you might actually be able to salvage to make a smaller blade, but I can't cut straight to save my life. So it's kind of got jaggedy edges, and it'll be too small for, you know, a full-size blade. So I can't even make a wakizashi out of it. So instead, I'm going to make this little Tactical Tanto. So it's going to be like a modern update on a Tanto. Hopefully, it'll look kind of neat, but we'll see. But basically, I'm going to use all the wood that's on this blank, nothing else, and we're going to see if we can make it look pretty good. Basically, how I got started is I'm going to make a 12-inch knife overall with a 5-inch handle and a 7-inch blade, and I'm going to incorporate some of the typical elements that we've done with just the shaping of the blade. I'm going to put a bohi in there, and just some other things, and then I'm going to put some scales on it. I'm not going to do the whole handle making process and all that, but you kind of get a little sense of how it's going to look. I'm going to put little edge grooves on the back there, and, you know, a little finger grip there. Who knows? I'm still going to play around with it, but it should be kind of neat. I'm going to see how it comes out. But that's basically how I got started out. I found the best cut part of this whole blade blank, which just happened to be the bottom. I started off really well and then ruined the rest of it, pretty much. But then I've just kind of drawn out what I wanted here. I wanted it to be 5, just because it fit my hand pretty well, and then just 7, so it wasn't super long. And I've just kind of drawn out, you know, basically what it's going to look like. So I got to cut this piece out right here, and then shape the blade and do some other things, cut out this profile that I'm looking for, and then we're going to move on from there. But yeah, so basically what's going to happen is I'm just going to use only this piece of wood, this cutout blank, and make a little Tanto out of it. We'll see how it comes out. Okay, so now we've got the Tactical Tanto Part 2. Basically, I was just trying to finish shaping out. I've cut out my blank here, cut that out, and shaped the profile. Basically, it's just going to be like the regular blade that we did, so that curve could stay the way it was. All I just had to do was carve the tip on, which I actually cut the tip off the top of this cutout that we made, and then just applied it to here as a template, because this is not really going to be helpful later on. And then I just moved the handle a little bit. It used to be at 5 and 7, but I moved the line down 1/2 inch to about 4.5 inches on this side and 7.5 inches for the blade. It just seemed to work pretty well. So it fits fairly well. The little finger groove is coming out okay. And what I did here was this curve was just part of the regular curve that we had drawn out from the cutout. So that, I mean, that stayed the same way, basically. Shaped it a little bit to round it down here at the bottom. And then here, when we did the back side, all I did was I shaped it against the curve. So what I did is I just wanted to make it so this whole thing tapers down to a point here. So this could stay the same, and then I just reversed it on this side, so you can see how it kind of curves back the other way as opposed to the way it was originally on the blank. So that's pretty much it. We've got the Tactical Tanto blank shaped out. The next step can either be to shape the blade, or you can leave it to the last part, or you can move on to making some scales. Since I've already covered doing the shaping of the blade, I'm going to move on to making some scales and show you what we've done. Basically, all I'm going to do is, still using all the wood we've got here, I'm just going to take this handle piece and trace it out a couple times onto this blank, and cut those pieces out. Then make them a little bit smaller so that they fit on top of this. So after I've done that, I'll show you what we've got. Alright, so the third part here, I've basically, like I said in the last part, just traced out the part of the handle onto more of the blade blank. You can see that the original blank is getting far smaller. And then I cut it out. Now, what I want as a design is I just want the outer edge to be exposed there. I want an even reveal all the way around. So what I did is I started off by, obviously this scale here has to be a little bit smaller. and since I'm still working on it, I didn't want to just glue it down. So what I've done is I made so that this side is the even reveal that I'm looking for, and then I obviously have to do it on this side because you can see it's just sticking out even on this side because it was originally the same size. So all I did was I got this shaped the right way and kind of slid it back off the edge the way I wanted it, and then I drilled a couple 1/8" holes, and then I had a few 1/8" dowel pegs just hanging around, so I just stuck them in there long enough, and that's actually what I'm going to use to pin the whole thing together eventually, along with the glue. But for right now, this will help me keep a neutral position here, so that this, I can always come back to this to compare to make sure that it's going to be an even reveal all the way around the whole thing. But that's what I've got so far, and then I've just got to do the same thing on the other side as well, once I get this even reveal all the way around. And then I can really start shaping the scales to look pretty neat. Okay, so now that I've got this first scale that I was making, or side of the Tanto here, I got that shaped the way I wanted it, so it's nice and even all the way around. Then I had to cut into my really cool sign that I made here and cut the second scale out. Now I cut this one first and then cut the second one from this. So I traced, instead of the handle, I traced this. And that transfers all the dimensions, or all the, the features. So I wanted it this small, so I had an even reveal. So I transferred all of that over to here instead of having to shape two pieces all the way down. So it saved me a little bit of work. So now all I gotta do is drill holes in both of these. And then I can move on to kind of do final sanding of both the handle of the Tanto and the sides. And unfortunately we're going to have no more cool sign at that point. So you're going to have to trust me that it's still the Tacti cool Tanto. Okay, so we're on to the next part, and basically what we've done so far is I've gotten the blade handle itself and the blanks, the profile of the blank, sanded down. And now I'm going to actually shape the scales on the side, and that's because square blockiness is not very tactical. So we need to shape this over, and all I'm going to do is just kind of round the edge over, so it's more of a curve, and the overall will give an oval shape overall. Also be a little bit more comfortable. But yeah, so we're going to do that, and basically what I've done is I've just sawn off the ends of the dowel pins that I made. Just really quickly and stuck in there, and like I said, I've sanded it down, so it's about finished. And then all I'm going to do is take my rasp and then just round over the sides in both directions, and then I'm going to do some little touch-ups around the edges, and it should just round it all over and make it look pretty neat. Like I said, make it a little bit more comfortable to hold. So that's where we're at next. So here's a finished scale piece for the side. You can see just by looking down the top there, all I did was just lightly round it over the top of it. And then I put some angled bevels on the sides just to really give it an extra bit of profiling. And just followed it around so it has that same bevel on all sides. And when it's on the actual blade, it looks like this. Again, I kept that reveal all the way around, so it has that space. And then I've started working on the blade after that, and basically all I did was cut in the bohi on this, and you can see I started shaping the blade as well. And this process is actually, like I said, it's covered in the katana tutorial, so I can just link back to that in the video, but I'm not going to show you exactly how I'm doing that. But it's pretty much the exact same way. The only difference is that there is no abaki, so I'm just picking a point. This is like 1/4 of an inch taller than the scale, and that's where I had my lineup for my bohi and also for the where the blade's going to start. So I have finished the shaping of the blade. You can see the edge it's on it. Still needs a little bit of finish work in terms of straightening that edge out so it's one straight line. You can see the notch that is becoming of the fact that I just took the square edge like that and notched it out, and I put a bohi on both sides. You can see the effect it gives. Yeah, so that's pretty much it as far as construction goes. I was considering putting some cross hatching on the scale of the handle here, but decided against that. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. So I'm about ready to go into finishing. I'm just actually going to do an engraving along the back spine, I think. See how that comes out. So here is the finished version of the Tacti Tanto. Just want to show you, I just sprayed it flat black on the blade portion of it. You can see the stamping made it through the paint, which I'm pretty happy about. And then I just sprayed some Plastidip rubber coating onto the handle scales. And it's actually kind of neat, because I didn't prime the handles beforehand or seal them in any way. The rubber grip actually caught up some of the wood grain, so it's kind of neat that it looks like wood grain and is, actually is still the rubber handled surface. It's pretty cool. But anyways, so yeah, that's it. Just a real quick project. Looks pretty good altogether. Pretty neat little project that you can do out of just that little piece of wood that we started with. Just a few things I wanted to point out. I mean, this is using really no more than the tools we used for the katana. The only thing I really did use was just a round file to do the bohea. I made it a little bit quicker, but you can do it the same way as we did in the katana tutorials. And I'll link back to the appropriate blade shaping in case anyone finds this video without the other ones. But yeah, so pretty cool project, real simple to do, kind of a nice beginner project in a way. And pretty much the sky's the limit with this thing. I mean, you can make it look however you wanted. But I just wanted to also make note of the fact that I didn't give you guys any dimensions while I was working on this, because I was really working within the wood that I had. So this is, like I said, this is from a scrap piece. So the width was whatever the width of that scrap piece was, and I just worked with that. And the length is the only thing that I really determined as a length. It's 12 inches overall, with a 4.5 inches to the top of this scale here. So the whole handle is about 4.5. Then the blade is the remainder, 7.5 inches. But other than that, there are no dimensions. I just did it all by eye. So I encourage you kind of just to work with what you've got. And, like I said, I don't actually have dimensions for this thing. So you have to kind of use your imagination as to what you've got for scrap pieces. And I'm sure, because I actually had you get a few more pieces than you really needed for the katana, a few more pieces of wood, I'm sure what you could actually do is, find lots of scrap pieces like this. I'm sure you have quite a bit of wood left over. And if you do, consider making a few of these maybe, or if you want to make a longer one, there's nothing stopping you from making something longer. So yeah, that's what I would go for. So I hope you like this project, and the rest of the katana tutorials will be up very shortly.